So there were some stats that came out recently, I think the end of last year, that talk specifically about musicians and where they record. I think it's no surprise to anybody that 68% of musicians have a studio set up and record at least some of their tracks at their home studio, while 49% of musicians recorded all of their music at their home studio. So with all the music getting recorded and home studios, why is there still so much frustration around recording at home? And why are musicians and singers so unhappy with the results that they're getting? As somebody who produces and mixes a lot of artists that record from their home, today I'm going to walk you through how to create a great environment to record at home. And also I'm going to share some of the biggest mistakes I see musicians and singers make. Stick around because this is going to be a game changer for your musical journey. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to walk through the secrets to building a killer home studio. You don't need $1 million budget to create professional quality recordings nowadays. Whether you're a singer-songwriter, a producer, or just starting out, I've got some game-changing tips that will elevate your setup. Alright, so if you're going to build a home studio, you need to start with the basics. There's a few pieces of gear that you're really going to need. You're going to need a computer, obviously. You're going to need an audio interface, and you're going to need a microphone. And those are the first pieces that you need to get some audio into a computer in a semi-professional way. With those three pieces of gear, you can record acoustic guitar, vocals, drums, anything in a live room, really anything that you need for a song. So from an audio interface perspective, there's some simple, easy solutions out there. I know Focusrite makes a lot of great versions of their Scarlett here. This is the Scarlett 4, which is a great interface. It's USB. You plug it in the back here, and you plug it directly into your computer. And then from there, you're able to plug microphones into it. Something like this won't break the bank, but it'll help you be able to record and capture what you want. It has phantom power and a monitor control. Something like this is exactly what you need to start your home studio. Next, you need a microphone. You do not need a dynamic microphone. You do not want a dynamic microphone. What you want to do is you want to get yourself a condenser mic. You want something like this. Now this is a Neumann U87. This is a little bit expensive. If you're just starting out, there's a lot of clones of the U87 out there. It's a great microphone, but there are a lot of great clones out there I think that you can use to start. I know Rode makes the NT1. That's a great piece. Warm Audio makes a lot of great microphones. I think those are some that you want to check out. But you want to get yourself a condenser microphone. Now once you have those three pieces, you're ready to go. Then the next piece that you need to start thinking about is monitors. And once we get talking about monitors now, there's a lot of other things that we're going to have to start to discuss. Because how you hear is going to be so important to how you mix and how you produce. You can have a great pair of monitors, but your room is not set up at all for recording, and it will sound awful, and you will not be able to hear the things that you need to hear. There'll be a lot of reflection, and that will change the sound that you're hearing, and you'll make decisions based on that, and those decisions won't accurately reflect your mix. If you're looking into monitors, there's a lot of great options out there. My first pair of monitors was the JBLs. I would actually suggest not going with a sub to start with. Just get two 8-inch speakers, put them right next to you. You can measure out exactly how far they need to be. There's a lot of recommendations online, so take a look at that. But I think getting something cost effective from a monitor perspective is very important. Now with monitors, the next step for that is something like this. So this is by SonarWorks. This is a sound ID reference. And so this is a way to measure your room and understand at your listening position all the reflections, how things are sounding. So if there's too much low end, too much high end, etc., and it'll help you build an EQ profile that perfectly matches your room. So then you can hear your mix properly. And as I mentioned, that's a huge piece to getting great results is you have to be able to hear it to make the changes. Now those are pretty much the basics, but there's one major thing I haven't talked about yet, and it's right behind me. Literally, it's sound dampening equipment. Any professional studio that you'll go into, they have a lot of sound treatment in there. And the reason for that is just what we were talking about a little bit earlier, to cut down on a lot of the reflections within the room so that you can hear the audio that's coming out of the speakers the way that they were intended to be heard. And doing so will help you be able to create a mix that translates across all these different mediums that people listen to nowadays. So should you invest in acoustic treatment? 100%. That actually might be the first thing that you should invest in, because really, in your room, if you can't hear it, you can't make the changes you need to make it better. Now, there are some great acoustic treatment companies out there, and then there's some not so great acoustic treatment companies. What I would say is do some deep research, understand what companies actually work with real studios. Don't just go on Amazon and try to get those egg crate foam pieces that don't do anything. Yes, they're cheap. There's a reason why they're cheap, because they don't work. Invest with a quality company. I've even built some of my own acoustic treatment in this room. There's companies out there, I think ATS Acoustics is one of them, that they'll send you their high quality foam panels, and then you can then build out the panel like that you see behind me. All right, now once you have those pieces, you're well on your way. But the next thing is the biggest mistake I see artists making recording at home. And that is they don't have a full understanding on how actually to record. With a condenser microphone, there's a distance that you want to be from it. Now, that varies depending on genre, style of music, the preamp that you're using, etc. But typically, you want to be anywhere between 6 and 12 inches away from the microphone. You also want to have a windscreen in front of the condenser, because anytime you say hard P's, that sound is going to get picked up by the very sensitive condenser microphone. Now, I've heard some people talk about from a sibilance perspective, if you tilt the microphone, the capsule inside of it, either forwards or backwards, that completely gets rid of sibilance. That to me is kind of an old wives' tale. I've tried it all different ways. I haven't noticed an extreme difference from a sibilance perspective, tilting it backwards or keeping it flat. What I will say, the biggest indicator of sibilance is how you pronounce your words and how you're actually singing. And that brings me to my next piece about recording, which is focus on getting it right from the start. Take your time. When you're doing acoustic guitar or whatever you might be doing, move the mic around. Listen to the position. Listen to how moving it around changes the sound of it as you're recording it. Don't just stick a microphone in front of something. Record it and then say, oh, I'll fix it later on. The key is to try to capture the sound that you want from the start, and that'll make the whole process down the road the best it can possibly be. And performance matters. I've heard singers that have practiced their songs over and over again, know them inside and out, and are able to emote the feeling of the vocals and the lyrics in the song. And they're recording on a $300 mic, and they make people who record on $3,000 mics sound bad. It's not all about having expensive gear. It's not all about a $3,000 mic. It matters more how well the performance is done, how well you know your material, and how well you perform it, and how the emotion of the song is translated into audio. Now, if you bought those things and you don't have money yet for acoustic treatment, you might be able to get away with something like this. Now, this is called the eyeball, and basically what you do is you take this off, you're able to put a microphone inside of it, and then what it does is it basically creates a little vocal booth for you, which is great. I've tested it out. It's good. It does make the recording a little darker than you would get from a typical vocal booth, but again, it's a very inexpensive option that will solve the issue of room reflections while you're recording. And then when you have your nice condenser mic, you don't want to just record it in an open room that doesn't have any treatment in it. What you want to do is you want to create yourself a little vocal booth. Now, I've seen people do this in all sorts of ways. I've seen people drag their bedroom mattresses up and kind of create a little L around it, put the microphone in there, and it kills some of the reflections. That works. Now, for me, I created a little vocal booth over here. I also have additional acoustic treatment inside of it too as well to kind of help dampen out the sound, and it works really, really well. So I know there's a lot more to cover on this. I'm sure I'll do additional videos that'll dive into kind of each one of these individual things, but I just wanted to kind of help you out there. Those of you that are just starting, those of you that are on your journey and are struggling a little bit to kind of understand, okay, how do I put all this together? The keys that you need is you need a computer, you need an audio interface, you need a nice condenser mic, as nice as you can afford, and then you need acoustic treatment. And if you can't afford a ton of acoustic treatment for your room, go look at some of the vocal isolation options that are out there for microphones, because that'll help you, as I mentioned, capture the sound as best it can with as little reflections as possible and allow you to be able to do a lot of things with that sound to be able to get to where you want with that audio. So if you like what you heard, give us a follow and subscribe. If you have questions, go ahead and pop them into the comments and I'd be happy to respond. And if there's something specific you'd like to see us cover in the future, put that in the comments as well. Have a great day and happy recording.